LIB presents Try Not to Cry Challenge by Josh Gonzales. Copyright Year 2021 by Joshua De Jesus and Life is Beautiful Printing Corporation. Performed by John Vincent Hoson. Subtle eyebrows, a pair of unfathomable black eyes, a high bridge nose, delicate Goldilocks lips. I gulped. I looked at my sketchbook and rerouted my eyes at her once more. She was laughing while watching her teammates lose in the volleyball game. Nakasuot siya ng PE uniform na kahit pinagpapawisan ay napakaganda pa rin. She was not that sexy, but not that fluffy either. Her physique was poetic. Napangiti ako at tinignan ang sketchbook ko. Akmang-akma ang ginuhit ko sa itsura niya. I added shades on her hair, turning a craft like her into a masterpiece. I added more lines and colors, being careful with the colors. Itinaas ko ang lapis ko sa shoulder level at tinignan ang tip nito at iniharap sa kanya. I was desperate to accurately portray her aesthetic. However, to my great surprise, she looked back at me. Our eyes met, and suddenly, I couldn't take my eyes off her. I felt like I was enchanted. Just then, she smiled at me. I felt my heart take a sudden leap. Walang ano-ano'y naglakad siya papalapit sa akin. Slowly, she inched the gap between us and everything was in a slow pace. Inilipad ng hangin ang buhok niya at lalo siyang gumanda nang tumama ang sinag ng araw sa kanyang balat. Napalunok ako at nabitawan ang lapis na hawak ko habang pinapanood pa rin siya. My eyes were fixated on her and I couldn't think straight. No doubt she was an art in human form, poetry in live action. She stopped in front of me. I forced myself to smile. Mukha kang tanga, nakangising sabi niya at umupo sa tabi ko. Binuksan niya ang plastic bottle na hawak at ininom yun. Bumuka ang bibig ko pero hindi ko alam ang dapat sabihin. Grabe ang kabog ng dibdib ko na para bang lalabas na ang puso ko mula noon. Okay ka lang, Vincent? She said. Mukha kang pagod. Nag-iwas ako ng tingin at pilit na pinakakalma ang aking sarili. I'm not tired, Jean. I'm just ugly. She laughed and immediately stopped when she saw my sketchbook. I immediately closed it. Ang damot mo talaga, reklamo ni Jean. Bakit ba ayaw mong ipakita sa akin yan? Bakit? Bibilin mo ba? I asked. Mukha kang pera, she said while laughing. Kamusta pala? Sino ba kasi yung idodrawing mo? Hindi ako nakakibo. Hindi ko rin alam kung paano ipapaliwanag yun sa kanya. Malapit na rin kasi ang Valentine's Day at ni-require kami ng teacher namin sa art appreciation na gumawa ng artwork in any kind or form. At iyon na raw ang final project namin sa kanya. I don't know, I said. I haven't decided yet. Anong you don't know? Tanong niya. Nakita nga kita kanina nagdo-drawing. Ang tagal na nating magkaibigan, tingin mo maloloko mo pa ako? Tumigil si Jean at tinignan ng isa naming kaklase na nasa field at ngumisi. Si Giselle yung ginuguhit mo, no? Agad na kumunot ang noo ko. Ang tinutukoy niya ay iyong kaklase naming matagal nang may gusto sa akin, pero ni minsan ay hindi naman ako nakausap. Nang tumingin sa direksyon namin si Giselle, ay nagulat siya at agad na tumalikod. See? Jean exclaimed while laughing. Nagpanik agad siya sa tingin mo. Paano pa kaya pag nalaman niyang siya ang entry mo sa art appreciation project? Hindi nga, I said. Kulit mo. Kunwari pa, she teased me. Di ko naman ipagkakalat eh. Ikaw ba? I asked her. Short story ang entry mo, di ba? Kamusta ang isinusulat mo? Malapit nang matapos, she said, and looked into my eyes deeply. I like the storyline I made. Matutuwa ang pagbibigyan ko for sure. Ramdam ko ang pag-iinit ng mga pisngi ko. Ku- Kumusta yung, ano yung, I suddenly stuttered. Yung manuscript na, ano, pinasa mo? Tanong ko patungkol sa writing contest na sinalihan niya. Bukas malalaman ng result, sagot niya. Excited na ako. I was about to say something pero tinawag na siya dahil siya na ang susunod na maglalaro. She stood up and I watched her as she walked away. She was my friend, a long-time friend. She was a writer. I was a painter. She liked to write. I loved to draw. She preferred to say things way too direct. If she thought of it, she'd say it. If her heart screamed for it, she'd show it. However, she was a complete contradiction of me. I preferred things to be pure yet undiscovered, just like my feelings for her. Pinulot ko ang lapis na nahulog. Bubuksan ko na sana ang sketchbook ko para ipagpatuloy ang aking ginagawa. Nang walang ano-ano'y biglang hinangin ang bawat pahina nito. Ipinakita ang bawat sketch ko ng babaeng nakauniforme, nakangiti, natutulog, nag-aaral, at nagre-recite sa klase. Bawat pahina ay naroon siya. Matipid akong ngumiti at tinignan si Jean na nasa field. At tawa ng tawa dahil wikang una niyang spike sa bola. You silly, I murmured in the air. Stop asking about my sketches. It's you. It's always been you. The next thing I knew, I was watching Jean in a busy central LRT station in Manila. She was wearing her jacket, holding a guitar, a mic, and an open suitcase in front of her. Bawat dumaraan ay naglalagay ng barya roon. Ang iba naman ay tumataas ang kilay. Tinignan ko ang note na nakadikit sa suitcase at agad akong napangiwi. I quit school to pursue music. Help me. Pinatugtog ni Jean ang gitara at masyado siyang off-key. Kahit ang pagkanta niya ay flat. I cringed some more when she failed to hit a note and literally sounded so awful. Yet, she didn't care. 2 linggo na siyang hindi pumapasok at kanina lang ay nalaman kong nag-submit na siya ng dropout form sa school. With my heart pounding hard, I immediately ran into their house and I was informed by her sister that her manuscript didn't pass the initial screening. On top of that, nagalit din ang parents niya dahil sumali siya sa ganoong competition. They strictly prohibited her from writing, and they wanted her to take a medical related or corporate related course. For them, pursuing the arts was a waste of her youth. For the first time, she became a rebel. She ran away from home and decided to quit school. I couldn't blame her at all. She's an artist, a writer. Once someone decides to be a descendant of arts, you just can't take that away from them. And that's what she is. She's a messy descendant of pen and paper. She's a living catastrophe, an epitome of tragic disaster. Napailing ako nang makita kong pinalilibutan na siya ng mga tao. Lumapit ako at napabuntong hininga nang makita kong wala nga talaga siya sa sarili. As a painter, I can say that she's an abstract. She's vague. She's complicated. She's not the type of woman who will catch your attention at first glance. Truthfully, nothing special about her at first sight. Inobserbahan ko lang si Jean. Patuloy lang siya sa pagkanta at kung ang boses ba niya o ang gitara ang hindi maasabay sa tono, ay hindi ko na rin alam. Like an abstract, she's a void. An art of disaster. A piece out of catastrophic events. A woman of countless battles. Nag-iingay na ang mga tao na karamihan ay mga estudyante. They were hyping her up. Nang mag-angat ang tingin ni Jean ay nakita niya ako. Mukhang hindi niya malaman kung ano ang gagawin. Come with me, I said and grabbed her by her wrist. My face was as hard as stone. Just when I was about to drag her out of that place, she resisted. Ayoko, she said and her face went blank. I didn't ask for your permission. I looked back at her and held her hand. Tara na. Ayoko nga sabi, sigaw niya. Pinagtititigan na kami ng mga tao. I looked at her sharply. Fine, she exclaimed and picked up her suitcase. Nagdadabog siyang naglakad palayo at hindi man lang ako nililingon. As I watched her, I realized something. She's indeed abstract. She has no distinctive lines. She can go from plain to romantic to dramatic and to be most inexplicable woman you would ever meet. Binilisan ko rin ang lakad ko at nang maabutan si Jean, ay agad na hinablot ang suitcase mula sa kanya. Galit siya, pero hindi ako nagpatinag. Kinuha ko ang isa pang bag sa kanyang kamay at nagsimulang maglakad. Nang hindi sumunod si Jean ay lumingon ako. Nakatayo pa rin siya doon, pero sa pagkakataong iyon, ay namumuo na ang mga luha sa kanyang mga mata. What are you waiting for? The end of the world? I asked sarcastically. She didn't speak. Kusang tumulo ang mga luha sa kanyang mga mata. Why? I asked. Tell me, instead of being just a... Ang sakit na ng paa ko! She said and her voice cracked. Lumapit ako sa kanya at tinignan ang mga paa niya. Nakasuot lang siya ng sandals at nagsusugat na ang ilan sa mga daliri niya at ang ilan ay namumula na. You're a mess, sabi ko sa kanya bago ako tumalikod para ipasan siya. What are you doing? He asked. Tara na. It looked like she contemplated first. Hurry, I said. People are watching. Suddenly, I felt her body pressing against my back and her arms around my neck. I carried her without saying anything. We were in absolute silence until I heard her soft cries again. Sort of an abstract. She has no evident symmetry. She's not that tall, not that sexy either. She has no shape. She attracts chaos. She has marks, scars, and bruises. She has anxiety and is a victim of frequent panic attacks. She has trust issues. Like an abstract art, she's vague. She's a void, but she's an art. Would you mind sharing with me what happened? I asked Jean when the atmosphere finally cleared. Wala, sagot niya. Maglalayas ka ba kung wala? Tanong ko. I know everything. Then why ask? Because I want to hear your side, I answered. Silence swallowed us. I failed in the contest, she said, and there was a massive amount of pain in her voice. Gusto ni Papa na itigil ko na ang pagsusulat. I mean, that's the only thing I'm good at. Bakit ka kumakanta sa LRT kanina? I snapped. Maybe I can try something new, she said. Trying something new and embarrassing yourself with that voice that can't even hit a proper note are different, I said. You sound like a dying sea lion. She laughed. I know. Once again, silence swallowed us. I just thought of it, Jean said out of the blue. Thought about what? I asked. The main character might change depending on the point of view, she said. Masama bang pangarapin na this time? Kahit sa buhay ko lang, ako naman ang bida? I didn't answer. I just smiled weakly. As her painter, I see her as a piece of art. She's indescribable. She's incomparable. Her mind is unfathomable. There are no adjectives to describe her. She's a complicated art, an overly chaotic art, a beauty that doesn't depict mainstream reality. How's your painting? She asked. Good, I said. How's your writing? Done, she said. Out of nowhere, she asked something that made me stop walking. Is it okay to fall in love with a friend? I was taken aback. Why do you ask? She shrugged. Nothing. A writer's curiosity, perhaps. I felt butterflies inside me. She was giving me mixed signals. Nang dumating ang Valentine's Day, lahat ay excited at thrilled. Ito na ang araw na ibibigay namin ang ilang linggong pinaghirapan namin at i-dedicate sa kanino man sa klase. It was the main talk. Good thing Jean changed her mind. She came back to school after our talk. I felt the relief. Nang sumapit ang oras para sa art appreciation, karamihan sa mga kaklase namin ay nagbigay ng calligraphy, digital art, collage, and origami. Some even dedicated songs. Nang bigyan ako ni Giselle ng digital art, ay malakas na naghiyawan ng klase. Awang-awa nga ako sa kanya dahil inulan siya ng pang-aasar. Jiro, a high-caliber poet who had won in countless contests, dedicated a poem to my friend, Jean. Mas nabigla pa nga yata ako kaysa kay Jean mismo. Lahat ay kinilig maliban sa akin. Pagkatapos ni Jiro ay si Jean na ang sumunod. Tumayo siya sa harap at inulan pa rin ng pang-aasar. The artwork I decided to create is a short story, she began. It's about 6,000 words in length. Impressed ang lahat. Cool craft. Tungkol saan yan, iha? Tanong ng teacher namin. It's about two friends who secretly fall in love with each other, she said while trying to conceal her shy smile. Marami ang kinilig. Umingay uli ang klase. Ako naman ay pilit na pinapakalma ang sarili. Was she talking about me? About us? I was confused and panicking inside, but then our eyes met. She smiled at me. This is why I consider her as a piece of art. She could dig deeper into your soul. She could marinate deep within your bones. Despite her being an artwork in a void, she can make me feel things. And that's what art is for. To capture your emotions and not just your sight. And that's what she did. She captured my heart and soul before my eyes. Aside from the grade, any motivation for writing that? Our professor asked again. The class laughed. Nothing specific, ma'am, Jean answered. Maybe because I want to hang out more with this man. I bit my lower lip. Ko ba yun? Go ahead then, our professor said. Fire away, sweetheart. All right, she said. Suddenly, she started walking and a long pause of silence resonated in the whole room. Lalong bumilis ang tibok ng puso ko nang makita ko siyang naglalakad papunta sa direksyon ko. Nakatingin siya sa akin. Parang slow motion ang lahat at ang tanging ingay na naririnig ko ay ang kabog ng puso ko. Pumikit ako ng mariin. Hindi ko na kaya. Finally, I felt her stop. I heard loud giggles and cheering noises. I knew it! Sigaw ng isa naming kaklase. Mag-date na kayo! As I opened my eyes, I felt my heart breaking into tiny million pieces. She stopped right behind me. She stopped in front of the poet. She stopped in front of Jiro. Sana maging close pa tayo. Ngiting-ngiting sabi ni Jean sa lalaki. Sure, Jiro said, flustered yet looking like he was moved. Nag-iwas ako ng tingin. Pakiramdam ko ay pinapatay ako sa sakit. Nagpunta ang tingin ko sa sketchbook na nasa table. Sa bawat pahina nito ay naroon siya. I smiled painfully. I guess this was Jinx for being an artist. She's a writer. I'm a painter. Every day, I paint her. But sadly, she writes for the poet.